Well, I have a feeling this is going to be my most chaotic video yet. As you guys can probably tell from the background and the fact that there are some boxes in the back, I am currently in the process of moving yet again. I apologize if you have actually been following my channel for a bit and see me move several times at this point. That being said, I am moving into a 1-year-long lease here in San Francisco, so this is going to be my last time moving for a while, and I'm really excited to have a consistent place where, first of all, I'm living, but also a place where I am filming and feel like I have a good filming setup, just because it's been a little bit hard to be moving around so much recently, and I'm just excited to be in one place for a while. So I apologize for the background. There's only so much I could do in terms of getting everything looking good for the video. Obviously, it just doesn't look good at the moment, and I am well aware of that. It's because I've only been moved in here for a few days. I'm hoping that by next week, it's going to be looking a little bit less chaotic and hopefully a little bit better for filming. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Emma, aka Midsummerknits, and I post videos about knitting and fiber arts content. In today's video specifically, I wanted to talk about some of the recent acquisitions that I've had to my stash. I do want to do a full stash tour and probably a stash decluttering video in the near future, and that will probably be whenever I get sort of a proper setup for my stash, because as you guys can tell, things are pretty chaotic at the moment. We'll see what I end up settling on, but be on the lookout for that video in the next few weeks or months. I'm hoping it'll come sooner rather than later, because that means that I'll have my apartment a little bit more organized, but we'll see. Without further ado, let's get into some of the recent stash acquisitions that I have. So the first thing I wanted to share are a couple of skeins of yarn that my mom gave me. My mom is also a knitter. She is the one who taught me how to knit way back when, and she's the one who helped me like develop my taste in yarn and just has always been like my knitting guru. So she gave me a couple of skeins of yarn this year at Christmas. The first one is this absolutely gorgeous malabrigo rasta yarn. As you can probably tell, this is a super bulky skein of yarn, and this is actually very different from the yarn that I would typically work with. I don't usually work with anything above worsted weight yarn very often, and that's mainly because I feel like I would not get too much wear out of like a sweater or garment made with super bulky yarn. I live in San Francisco where it does not get very cold, and so I don't have that much need for like a super warm bulky sweater. Plus, I recently did work with super bulky yarn for the first time in many years, and I realized that I just don't enjoy the process of working with super bulky yarn quite as much, especially when it is like a single ply like this. You just have to be really careful not to split it, and it's a really different experience versus working with thinner yarn. That being said, I hope that didn't come off like too negative, because I am really excited for this skein of yarn. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. Do I know what I'm gonna make with it yet? No. My mom actually gave this to me with a pattern for a hat. I forget the name of the hat pattern, but I'll see if I can dig it up. And it was a hat that my sister had worn and I had complimented. So this was a really thoughtful gift, and I love this colorway. I am a total sucker for like blues and purples, as well as hand-dyed variegated yarn. So I'm definitely excited to use this someday, but I don't have a specific project in mind that I want to make with it right away. Truthfully, when it comes to hats, I already have too many hand knit hats, so I could definitely make that hat that my mom recommended, but I'm not sure if I have too much need for it. Honestly, maybe I'll make a hat and then just gift it to someone or donate it or something. That would be really sweet, I think. I need to do a little bit more noodling on this one for sure. In a similar vein, my mom gave me this absolutely gorgeous hand spun yarn, which she spun. My mom has been spinning since I was young, and I actually did spinning when I was younger as well. However, I don't really spin anymore just because I don't have too much time for it with all of the knitting that I want to do, and so I haven't worked with hand spun yarn in a long time. It is just so fun to work with. It is really unique from different yarn in that it looks a lot more rustic, a lot more handmade, I suppose, because it is. And it's just really fun and unique to work with hand spun yarn as opposed to a store-bought yarn. This one in particular looks like it's kind of a fade, where it goes from this like darker blue and then it kind of progresses to have lighter blues and then some reds and oranges as you knit through these colors. So I think this will be a really fun one to knit with. Hand spun yarn, I feel like similar to a single skein of super bulky yarn, is not something I work with often, and I feel like there's just not too many options of things that I can make with it. So this is another one where I'll have to get creative. I might just make a hat as well, because I think a hat with this would be really pretty, but I'm not sure yet, so let me know if you have any ideas for either of these skeins. The next skein of yarn is, I think, the first skein of yarn that I bought for myself in like 6 months without actually having a specific project that I want to start right away. And it is this skein of pink fingering weight yarn. It is from Cedar House Yarns, and unfortunately this brand was actually closing down. I actually saw on their Instagram story that they were shutting down, and they were having a closing sale for the remaining inventory, and I saw this skein of yarn and I really wanted to get it. Not only to support the owner of the dyeing company who said she was shutting it down because of family reasons, she just wanted to spend more time with her family, but I also have been wanting to get a skein of pink sock yarn because I've been wanting to make a sock design that's been in my head for a while. So I've never actually designed socks before, but I think I've knit enough socks to the point where I could design socks relatively easily, knock on wood, but I think that I have the format of a sock down pretty well, and I think it would be a good bit easier than designing a garment. So I do want to try and work on this sock design before the end of the year, which is why I just went ahead and bought this, because I did think that I would want to get to this sock design within the next couple of months, and you know, I figured might as well support this local business as well as get a skein that is on sale. The remaining yarn that I have to go over in this video was actually gifted to me by a couple of companies, and I do not want to sound ungrateful by any means when I talk about any of these yarns, because I'm incredibly thankful that there are brands out there that want to work with me and want to send me free yarn, and it kind of is a total dream to have brands send me free yarn. Like, that's something that I've been hoping would happen to me someday for quite a while. I guess that day is here because some of these brands have sent me yarn and it is all absolutely gorgeous. So first off, I want to talk about the yarn that I received from Yarnalia. I talked about them in another video, which was actually sponsored by them, where I was making the Luna tee using this blue yarn that they sent me. And I actually have about a skein and a half left of this yarn. I used up about a skein and a half. So essentially I have enough to make another Luna tee or another like short sleeved tee sort of thing, which is a lot of yarn. I probably should have requested one fewer skeins, but I always like to make sure when I'm buying yarn that I am getting enough for whatever project I need. And sometimes that leads to me having leftovers. So this is the first yarn that I got from them. It is this really gorgeous fingering weight wool yarn. Again, I'll link my other video where I talked about this yarn in a bit more detail, but this is really pretty. I like the kind of like heathered look that it has, and I absolutely love how my Luna tee came out. I don't have another specific product in mind for this yarn, but I feel like I do have a number of kind of like fingering weight tank tops or tees that I have seen that I liked, so I think when the time comes for me to make something else with this, I will be able to find a pattern that I want to make. I did get one other yarn from Yarnalia as well. I got their woolly yarn, which is a worsted weight wool yarn in this pretty gray color. It's called Feather. I did get this yarn with a specific project in mind, actually. I bought it with the idea of making star-crossed knits, aka Tamara's I think it's called the Tide and True Top, or the Tie For Top. I'll check what the name is and put it on the screen. But it's a super cute tank top that has these adorable I-cord ties in the front. And ever since she posted about this design, although it is not quite out yet, ever since she posted about it, I wanted to make it so badly. I really hoped that I could test for her, but unfortunately I just don't have the time to right at the moment. I think she's currently has it in testing, so the design should be out as a pattern soon. But I am really hoping that once it's out as a pattern, I can make it. And this is the yarn that I bought in mind for that. Also, another thing, you guys might have noticed from what I've shown so far in this video that I really like making colorful knits, so most of my yarn is colorful, but a goal that I had for myself this year was to make something that was neutral, just because I think I might get more wear out of it. I do like making really fun colorful knits, but I do want to just like experiment a little bit more with making some neutral things and seeing if I'm able to get a little more wear out of those. So this would fulfill my goal of making something neutral this year, and we'll see if I can get to it this year or if I kind of run out of time, but I would really like to make that in the near future because I absolutely love that design. It's so dainty and feminine and I just really love it. All right, the last yarn that I want to show you guys, I have a few skeins of yarn from this company called Arcane Fibreworks, which is a hand-dyed yarn company, and I have nothing but good things to say about this company. Their yarn is absolutely gorgeous, and I love that they have a lot of different colors that are inspired by nature and by like cool mystical fantasy things. I think it's just so interesting, and I think that the yarn that I got from them is absolutely gorgeous. I do want to note they sent me a few more skeins of yarn that I'm actually showing here. I actually gifted some of the skeins of yarn to my mom and my sister because they just sent me so much that I legitimately could not have knit through it, even if I knit with just that like for the next year. So, you know, I hope that they are okay with me gifting it to someone else. I just felt that that was the best thing for me to do with it because I would not have been able to knit through all of that yarn. But it was incredibly kind of them to send me so much yarn. So thank you, Tyler, and all the other people behind Arcane Fibreworks. You guys are the best. The first thing that they sent me, which I actually specifically requested, are these two skeins of this really nice tonal blue color. The colorway is teal, and this is a DK weight yarn that is mostly merino with a little bit of nylon, so just a good kind of common fiber combination in my mind. And I specifically wanted to get this because I feel like there's just a ton of DK weight tank tops out there, and this gives me a lot of options in terms of what I could possibly make in the future. And I just think this color is gorgeous. It's a very nice kind of true blue color. I see it and I just think of like rivers and oceans and really clear lakes, and I think it's gorgeous, so I'm really excited to use this. I also requested a couple of colors of fingering weight yarn from Arcane Fibreworks. I have talked in this video about how I really like variegated yarn. However, I feel like it's sometimes hard to use. It's a little bit hard to make any garments out of variegated yarn in my mind because it's just so busy, and to make an entire garment out of a yarn that has like 3 different colors in it, I just feel like would be kind of a lot. You would just basically have to make like a super plain sweater or something, and even then, like wearing a sweater with so many colors in it can be kind of a lot. There are definitely cases where people have made like variegated tank tops and sweaters and things, and I have absolutely loved how they came out. But just when I think of planning a project for myself with variegated yarn, like an entire garment, it kind of feels overwhelming to me. So when it comes to variegated yarn, I usually really only use it for one thing, which is socks. And I like that with socks, you can just knit like a plain sock or like a pretty basic sock design. And that's kind of like the norm. Like you're not usually going to be knitting super complex socks. I say as I've knit a ton of super complex socks. Anyways, my point is I do feel like that socks are a great way to experiment with new things, whether it's new stitch patterns you never tried before, or it's, you know, using crazy yarn. So I asked for a couple of variegated fingering weight yarns from Arcane Fibreworks. They look similar when I put them next to each other, but they are not the same color. So let me just show them one by one really quick. This first one is called Spirit of Spring, and this is legitimately my favorite yarn I've ever seen. It is so gorgeous. It gives me kind of like midsummer colorway vibes, and I mean that in the best way possible. It is very springy. It kind of reminds me of like Renaissance paintings in a way too. I feel like it just looks like a work of art to me. So this is the first colorway that I asked for. It has these gorgeous pinks, greens, blues, a little bit of purple where the colors overlap, and yellows. Like it has a lot of colors in it, and I think it's so pretty. The second one is called I Don't Believe in Humans. It's like a unicorn based colorway, so this has a lot more like cool tones. As you guys can probably tell, I'm very much a jewel tone girly, so this is right up my alley. It has pinks, blues, purples, and, you know, a little bit of white thrown in there. And both of these I'm just obsessed with. I think they're so pretty. Hey guys, editing Emma here. I was trying my best to get good lighting even though it's nighttime in my apartment, so I apologize that I'm like standing in my hallway. But I forgot to mention when I was filming, so I wanted to just pop on here and let you guys know that I do have an affiliate link and a discount code for Arcane Fibreworks. I will have it all down below, but for the discount code, it is the code midsummerknits, and it is limited to 1 use per customer, but if you have not used it yet, you can use it and get 10% off your entire order. I would appreciate you guys using the affiliate link as well, because it just means that I will get a small commission of your order. So I'll have all that info down below. Thank you again to Arcane Fibreworks for working with me. I truly do really love their yarn, and they're such a cool brand, so you guys should definitely check them out. Both of these I will definitely be making socks with, and, you know, just hoping to have a little bit more of like a mindless or less stressful project, as opposed to when I make garments, it can be a little bit stressful for me at times. So I think with both of these, I'll either make like a plain pair of socks or like a pretty simply designed pair of socks. I previously made this pair of socks called the Labyrinth socks, which I thought was a really genius design. It has these simple floats that go across the design that, you know, breaks up the variegated color a little bit and prevents it from pooling, but I think also looks really cool and kind of allows the yarn to be displayed a little bit better. So I could make that or a similar design with either of these, and honestly, I'm kind of tempted to start on some socks right away because I don't have a knitting project right now, so we'll see if I do that today. That is actually it for all of the yarns that I wanted to show you guys. I wanted to ask you guys, what is your sort of philosophy when it comes to buying yarn for your stash or buying yarn to make projects with? Are you the kind of person who has not too much of a stash backlog and who is really good about only buying yarn that you're going to use immediately? Or do you have a lot of yarn in your stash? Because I am starting to turn into the kind of person who has a lot of yarn in her stash, and I don't know if it's a positive change or not. I would really appreciate it if you watched this whole video, if you could check out my channel and give me a subscribe. I'm getting so close to 4,000 subscribers, which is really huge, and then 5,000 is going to be a giant milestone. So I'm just really excited for the growth of my channel, and I really appreciate you guys supporting me, especially as I'm going through this kind of like stressful time with moving. I know I've not been the most consistent about posting, but I promise you guys once I get settled back in, I'm going to really be working hard on being consistent every single week, and I'm really excited for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye! Even if